Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. This is a quick little follow-up to, the last two videos I did, really, because these are a couple of images I wanted to talk about on here regarding the idea of them using stones as moulds and also moulding tools. Now, this was found at Pumapunku, and obviously that they use these holes for reasons, and what I talked about in my video was that they were actually being used for, some of them may have been used for moulds, but some of them were used for pumping water through to feed the engine, to feed the steam engine. Obviously this is all theory, but it kind of makes sense because the more and more over the last sort of year or so, the more I've been looking at this, the stones themselves definitely had a function, and it wasn't just for, the value of how they looked. So again, those first two images, possibly used for water. This is clearly a mould. Possibly both of these are moulds. The one to the right, which would probably be your left, or no, it'd actually be your right, sorry. It has two holes, one bottom, one at the top, and you would have another half fitted on top of this, and that would have been the other half of the mould. They probably had metal going in these two big holes, and that would have held the two halves of the mould together. Now look in the middle of that, you can see that there was obviously, it was designed to be a barrel. That's how they would have poured it, and it would have come out as a cylinder or a barrel. This obviously looks to me like there was water being pumped through that at some point. Now you could say that obviously there was more stones to it and it was just poured as a clamp, and this could be part of the clamp. Yep, I agree with that. But more realistically, I imagine that would have been used for pumping water through, or it might have even had steam coming out of it. Steam going in it, steam coming out of it. It had a function. This, to me, you would have had one half of the mould on the bottom or the side, and another half of the mould would have fitted on top. And it would have possibly been made for panels, things of that nature, but maybe it was even tools, parts of the tools, because of the small details on the side of it here, and the shapes on the top look to me like they could possibly be part of the steam engine. The panels on the side, maybe, I don't know exactly, but this 100% was a mould. Again, this is what I suggested that the steam engine was sitting on, because there's only one of these slabs, and this is where the engine would sit, the steam engine would sit. But it's very possible that this could have been a mould as well. You could have actually poured the inside of that recess, and that could have made one of the sides of the steam engine. You'd need four sides to it. If you're talking a square steam engine, this would have been one of the panels to the steam engine, so they would have poured that. But it could also have been what the steam engine sat on, and it would have actually fitted perfect. That's why maybe they were using the mould as and it had another function, that it was actually part of the it was what the actual engine sat on. This is a set square mould. It's not the right way around. It's actually, this has been turned. It would have been going the other way, turned to the left. But this is how they would have moulded one of their tools. And the way I can tell is because if you look around the edges, the very edges, I'd say about 10 centimetres off the edge, the very edges, look around, it's a different colour. That's the heat that's changed the colour, because they kept constantly pouring this, and it was to produce that, a set square. That was one of their tool moulds. So not only were they producing parts to a steam engine using this same alloy that they used for all the clamps on all the blocks at Pumapunku, they were also producing tools. They would have needed tools to produce the stonework in the first place. So maybe they had originally had a set that was given to them, and they had to make their own. So they started to produce these stones into certain shapes to produce sophisticated tools. Just another example of what set squares what you can get just from a set square. Obviously, you have a straight edge. You can use it as a ruler. It could be used as a template. Many different functions to this, and it makes sense that that particular stone, the arrow, let's call it the arrow for argument's sake, the arrow-shaped stone was actually a mould for a set square. It had to be. There's no other reason why it would be there, because it doesn't fit in with any of the other stonework or any of the other designs on Pumapunku stones. Another basic set square. But if you notice, the handle is thicker than the blade. So if you cut that blade in half and had two ends both the same length, basically that's the same. That's the kind of shape you'd get from pouring the arrow-shaped stone. That's what you would achieve. So they were pouring this metal, this alloy, to produce parts of engines, tools. I mean, why else would it be there? Why would you just put that there without having any particular reason? It's not like it's part of the design. It has no function to the design. It's very random, but it's almost like a reminder to say, hey, look, this is what we used to produce these rocks. This small thing here is what you, and maybe they had a gold one put in there, a gold set square. That would have been their kind of, they're showing off, like, this is what we use. This is how we did it. And this is just your basic designer's toolkit. This is what they would need. They would have to have this. So the designers at Pumapunku had this. They must have had a compass. They must have had very good pencils, straight edges, rulers, and a set square. Or set triangle. I don't know what the actual name is for the triangle. But there you go. I mean, that's how it looks to me. That these people understood descriptive geometry. They needed tools to produce this geometry and understand this maths. Now, when you look at this, what has he got in his hands there? I think there's a couple of ideas floating about what they think these things are. But to me, that looks like a toolkit, like he's holding two parts of his toolkit. And this could be a compass. Is that what they call it? A compass. And, you've got like a straight edge in there. Maybe a ruler. It just looks like he's holding his tools, to me. I might be wrong. This is all theory. One other thing I will say, this next image, look at the shapes at the bottom here. Does that not look to you like a tool? Like these are tools in his hands on each side, on his left hand and in his right hand. And look at the shapes in between. I think they're supposed to be, because this is Veracucha, this is supposed to be snakes in each of his hands, I thought, if I'm not mistaken. They say they're snakes. But look at the shapes between his body and the edge of the snake. That looks to me like that. If they poured that metal in there, you would have half of a compass. So yeah, maybe some of this was actually, even the pictures on his face, even the reliefs on his face. If you poured some of these with metal, you would have some like intricate pieces of metal that could possibly be used for technical drawing. It's it all seems to be there. It's very possible, and I know that's quite far off. Like, why would they put reliefs in this statue's face and use pour metal in those recesses to make tools, intricate tools with that's what I'm trying to say here. Now this is a modern version. This is a modern day version of the statues at Pumapunku and Tiwanaku. Someone's made this obviously out of concrete or something, and you can see how deep the recesses are. It just does remind me that these could possibly be poured, and to produce sophisticated intricate designs that really, if you actually look